Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. A massive opportunity for Sherrone Moore, this Michigan program on the recruiting trail coming up this weekend, hosting a ton of top targets in the 2025 class. Not only top remaining targets, but also some flip targets as well. Look, it's been a really frustrating season for us Michigan fans in 2024. If there's one positive that we've seen over the last couple of weeks, it is very clear that Sherrone Moore is going to play ball at the highest level on the recruiting trail. And many of us who follow this sport 12 months a year know this is the most important aspect of college football. If you want to be a legitimate contender every single year, it starts on the recruiting trail. And although 2024 has been a frustrating season in terms of on-field results, you can see Michigan really getting some momentum on the recruiting trail. Want to get into some of my favorite targets in the 2025 cycle that will be on campus this weekend. Fired up to get into it. Now, before we do, and as always, to the Michigan fans, one, the amount of support y'all have shown the fellas, even though our Michigan Wolverines have struggled in 2024, it's been amazing. Appreciate you guys. I think more importantly, it's going to be a really fun next couple of weeks and months for this Michigan program, not only on the recruiting trail, but in the transfer portal as well. I think us Michigan fans know we're going to see Sherrone Moore get really aggressive in the transfer portal. We'll be breaking it down for the next couple months. Again, appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into it. Let's start with my favorite target that's going to be on campus. That is four-star cornerback Shamari Earl's currently committed to Georgia. Look, we've known Michigan's been gunning for this kid for a very long time. The Michigan fans who were rocking with the boys back in the summer, y'all know this is probably my favorite cornerback prospect that Michigan is going after. This kid is a box checker. You take a look at there's really three pillars that I look for in cornerbacks coming from the high school ranks. One, size. Look, we're seeing a lot of really big wide receivers emerge, especially with teams like USC and Oregon coming into the Big Ten. There are some special wide receivers in this conference. You need special cornerbacks to deal with those kind of wide receivers. And Shamari Earls, from a physical trait standpoint, in my opinion, is about as impressive as they come. 6'2", he's up to 200 pounds. So the size is certainly there. He runs a 10.8 in the 100-meter dash. You talk about running with these wide receivers vertically down the field. Shamari Earl certainly can do that. He is really good with the football in the air. Plays a lot of wide receiver at high school, so that shouldn't come as a surprise. So you look at all those traits, hey, the size. There ain't many wide receivers that are going to be bigger than Shamari Earls. There ain't going to be many wide receivers who are faster than Shamari Earls. And then when that football is in the air, do we have cornerbacks who can go and make plays on the football? Shamari Earls can do that. And I think another interesting aspect of Shamari Earls is the quick twitch, the ability to change direction and be fluid is certainly there too, which is normally what you see these kind of cornerbacks struggle with when they're really big. They might have some of that long speed, but what does the fluidity in the hips and the feet look like? Shamari Earls has that. I think he shows it most as a wide receiver because this kid just makes people miss in space. I think he checks all the boxes you want, and why this one makes so much sense is, one, he's just a really good player. I think more importantly, two things. One, this Michigan defense, you need cornerbacks that can hold up on islands. Like, we see how aggressive Michigan wants to be on defense, sending backers, sending safeties on pressure. You got to have cornerbacks that can hold up on islands on the outside. Shamari Earls is that kind of cornerback, and he's going to play early. One, because he's physically ready to play early. Like 6'2", 200 pounds. This kid looks like he's been in a college football program for the last couple of years from a physical standpoint. I think more importantly, he's going to have the opportunity. You look at the Michigan cornerback room and say, well, we're going to need some of these young cats to come in and play a lot of football early. Shamari Earls is going to have that opportunity. But I think more importantly, he has the ability to do it as well. Really good fit for this Michigan defense, really good player, and a guy that's ready to play early. I think this would be a slam dunk get for this Michigan program. Now, the next guy I want to talk about, another flip target, a guy that we haven't even talked about in relation to Michigan, four-star line. I'm going to call him an athlete. I think he'll play linebacker, Bradley Gomers. Now, you're going to see Central Catholic in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the same high school that Cole Sullivan went to. And to be honest, like, very similar kind of prospects. Cole Sullivan, a long, really athletic, but underdeveloped linebacker coming out of high school. We've all heard the buzz that Cole Sullivan's going to get. We saw him in the spring game. I think we're pretty confident Cole Sullivan's going to be a really good player for Michigan. Bradley Gomers is incredibly impressive and kind of a fascinating. So why did we not talk about him going back to the summer? Because he only played in 2 football games as a junior. So like, it wasn't really that heavily recruited. Now he's dominating his senior year. He can do so much. You just see like these type of kids don't grow on trees. The recruitment has taken off. And so it's one, I think, hard to see Duke landing and keeping this kid in the class. And I think more importantly, that relationship to Cole Sullivan, I think is going to matter because they're similar players. And obviously Cole Sullivan's having some early success for Michigan. I love this kid. I think he does so many different things. No, I think he plays linebacker. Yeah, 6'5", 215, probably needs a little bit more weight on him. He flies around the football field, but I think most importantly, you look at the modern era of college football, we need linebackers that are versatile and can do a lot of different things. That's Bradley Gomers. I mean, this kid, one, sideline to sideline speed is extremely impressive, but what he can do in coverage with that 6'5" frame, you talk about dropping back in zone, having someone who's 6'5" and extremely long in those underneath zone coverages, he's hard to get the football around. But then in man coverage, like, they had ability to run with tight ends down the seam and be an athlete in space. Bradley Gomers, to me, checks so many boxes. He plays wide receiver on the offensive side of the football. I think he could be a really good tight end too, quite frankly. There's a lot of different positions that this kid could play. I think he plays off-ball linebacker. But at the end of the day, this is football is a height, weight, speed sport. Like, go bet on these kind of guys. Get them in your program. Figure out the rest later. Big fan of Bradley Gomers. I watched a little bit of the senior film this morning. I would be fired up as a Michigan fan if Michigan can get it done for Bradley Gomers. 2 more guys I want to talk about. One, Elijah Dodson, again, right down the road in Belleville. This kid kind of reminds me of Makari Page a little bit, right? He maybe he's not as tall and long, but a similar build for that safety position is similar to Makari Page. He's coming out of high school needing some physical development, sitting there only at 175. But look what happened with Makari. Didn't play a ton early, continued to put on some weight, and has emerged as one of the better safeties in the Big Ten. Had a phenomenal year for us in 2023. I think a lot of the same things you can say with Elijah Dodson and all the same things we loved about Makari last year. I think Elijah Dodson does a lot of those things and can do a lot of those different things, right? Makari Page, with that size, can come into the box, be really good in run support, can work with some of those bigger slot wide receivers / tight ends, but also can play that single high safety look. And Elijah Dodson's probably a little bit more of that single high safety kind of guy where he's long, he's really, really fast and impressive track and field background. You talk about a big, long safety that can cover a lot of area and the deeper portion of the football field. I think Elijah Dodson has that ability to be that versatile chess piece that you can put him in the box. You can play him as a single high safety. You could probably play him at nickel because he's played cornerback at the high school level. Again, Michigan wants to be versatile with their personnel. They want to do a lot of different things with a lot of different guys. Elijah Dodson allows you to do that with his unique physical skill set. Now he's committed to Pitt. Michigan State's going after him as well. If you're Michigan, and Lamar Morgan has been really impressive in terms of what he's been able to do stepping in and landing some of these elite defensive backs, this one would make a lot of sense for Michigan. I think it would be like, hey, you can be Makari Page. And if you can sell that to Elijah Dodson, I think that's a powerful message to send to this kid on the recruiting trail. Last one I want to talk about, uncommitted kid, but this is a massive visit because Jordan Young, he's going to be committing November 2nd. NC State was the leader. It sounds like Clemson has the momentum after he visited the other week. This is Michigan. Michigan gets the last opportunity to kind of put a really strong message to Jordan Young. Now, he's kind of a unique prospect where I think a lot of people see him as a defensive back. The more film I watch on Jordan Young, the more I'm like, he could play as a wide receiver as well. And especially if you land someone like Elijah Dodson, I feel like Jordan Young could play wide receiver. I mean, this kid is really twitched up. He's really good with the football in his hands, plays more on the offensive side of the football than he does defense at the high school ranks. A lot of, again, a kind of similar conversation we had with Bradley Gomers. Jordan Young's a really good athlete. Just get him on the football team. Figure out the rest when he gets here. We've seen Michigan have some success with guys that have bounced around to different sides of the football, most notably someone like Mikey Sandstrill started out as a wide receiver, transitioned into a defensive back, became one of the best nickels that we saw in all of college football. Jordan Young could be kind of that guy where, hey, we'll give him a shot. Yeah, wide receiver. Maybe it doesn't work. Could be a really good safety too. Again, you look at Michigan and say, although it's not been a successful season in 2024, there's a lot of momentum on the recruiting trail. That was the thing that we were most excited for with Sherrone Moore. I think we all knew in the back of our minds that there might be some growing pains in terms of Sherrone Moore as a head football coach, almost kind of similar to the growing pains you've seen Marcus Freeman go through at Notre Dame. Kind of similar situations as well. But we always kind of knew that Sherrone Moore would attempt to take Michigan up a notch on the recruiting trail. We're kind of seeing that. And although we have some momentum now, like what happens if Michigan starts winning some games in 2025? What does the momentum look like then for Michigan on the recruiting trail? That's where my excitement lies for Michigan. We'll see what comes out of this weekend. A lot of really good players coming on campus, a lot of good kids in the 2026 class as well. Of course, if they commit, we'll be breaking it down. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later.